So a lot of people in class were having trouble with briefing, specifically in public forum. You'll notice my computer has a split screen. That tends to be easiest to allow for briefing. If you can ever hook yourself up to a second monitor, that's really the way to go. It makes briefing really, really easy. I have Verbatim open. While Verbatim is not a requirement, it is a huge, massive shortcut, and it will help you debate on a computer in round, meaning it's significantly better just to learn how to use it from the beginning than to try to break yourself of some bad habits. My Verbatim is going to look a little bit different because it is a Mac instead of a Windows-based thing. A Windows-based computer tends to look a little bit better and easier, but here on my ribbon I have my shortcut keys for things like hats, blocks, tags, sites, etc. On Google here I've done a simple search, Medicare for All study. This is going to be me researching and finding some evidence, and I'll show you how to put it in so you can use it in a round very well. The first biggest category here is F4, it's the pocket. Here we really just care about whether it's pro evidence or con evidence, meaning you'll essentially have two pockets. When I hit that little ribbon button or click F4, I'm going to create these divisions here in my navigation panel. And that's one of the huge advantages of Verbatim. You can do this without Verbatim, but they're going to do it with the shortcut keys. All of my pro evidence is going to go in the pro section. All of my con evidence is going to go in the con section. This way I can organize and collapse these very, very easy. So after F4 is F5. That's the hat. There's also a block. For public forum, they basically do the same thing. So it really just kind of becomes a preference. You're really only going to use one of them. The hat or the block is not set in round, and that means it's short, it's simple, and it's just for you to be able to figure out where your evidence is. Okay? So, the article that I've looked at ahead of time for this is from The Hill, 22 studies agree Medicare for All saves money. So a simple hat for this argument would be M4A equals money savings. Highlight that, and I'm going to do an F5, so I'm going to make it into a block. If I have 5 or 6 different reasons on how it results in money savings, I can do a block underneath that, which will create different ideas in here. So decrease admin costs, increase care, which equals productivity at work, leads to grants. I don't think that's an argument, but we'll use it as an example here. If each one of these becomes a block, they come on to the left here, and it gets to the idea, oh, well here I want money savings. So I'm going to expand that because I've got a lot of files here. Do I want administration costs? Do I want productivity? Or do I want grants? I'm going to choose administration costs. It'll go directly to it. And so it's an organizational tool to divide and subdivide by more folders essentially here. For now, we're just going to go with the one hat because we're only going to have 1 or 2 cards here. So I'm going to click on my article. And I'm going to have to read this story. Sorry, there's no shortcut. In debate, you're going to have to read. You're going to have to learn about these topics. When I decide to cut a card, which has to do with the concept of a note card because evidence used to originally be on note cards, I have a couple of rules. The first rule is I have to start at a sentence. And the second rule is I have to end at a sentence. I want to find evidence that I think will be useful to me on the topic. There's no exact science to this. The more you do debate, the more you'll get a natural feel for this. I like this idea, examining 22 studies on the projected cost impact, and every single study predicted it would yield net savings over several years. In fact, it's the only way to rein in healthcare spending. So I'm going to start at the beginning of that sentence, which is Christopher Kai. And I'm going to go down here to this period. I'm going to copy it. And in my verbatim document, I'm going to paste it. Now you'll notice it has these hyperlinks in here. If I actually paste it with the F2 button here, it'll take those out. I don't like the space. I can hit F3 here or condense, and it will take those spaces out. Again, these are all shortcuts in order to do things you want to do in debate. I now need to underline this evidence. The underlining is what I'm going to read in round. Reading this entire card is going to take too much time of my 4-minute attack speech, and I don't want to waste it reading one piece of evidence. So I'm going to shorten it to make it more round ready to get the excess out and just do the parts that are going to help me the most. The only rule here is I can't take something out of context. So the example I keep giving in class is if the card says Donald Trump is not the best president in U.S. history, I can't underline out the word not. I also can't delete anything, meaning I have to keep everything here that's copy and pasted from the start of the sentence to the end of the punctuation. So, I am going to start here and hit F9, which is underline. Now F10 will do that plus bolding it because it's an emphasis point here. Lastly, I'm going to shrink the text. That doesn't have a shortcut key for some reason. All I have to do is click somewhere in here and hit the shrink button, and it will shrink the parts that are not underlined. This is going to make it easier for me to read in round. So now my card says 22 studies on the projected cost impact for single-payer health insurance reported their findings. Every single study reported that it would yield net savings over several years. In fact, it's the only way to rein in healthcare spending significantly. All of the studies, regardless of ideological orientation, showed that long-term cost savings were likely. Even the Mercatus Center, a right-wing think tank, recently found about $2 trillion in net savings over 10 years. I think that's a really, really good card. Now I have to tag it. Unlike the hat, the tag is said in round. That means you have to be very conscious of what you're saying, and you want something simple for the judge to write down, but impactful as to what this card says. You saw I played with the word massive there a little bit. I thought that might be power tagging a little bit. I am going to go with the word significant. Now notice the evidence doesn't say significant in there. However, I can make the argument that $2 trillion over 10 years is pretty significant. If they want to argue with me that that's insignificant, I'll still win on the idea that I save money. So I then highlighted it, and I hit F7, which was this button here for tag. You'll notice it now showed up in my navigation panel. So when I open this up and I say, ooh, I need money savings, I click on that and I see my first tag. If I have other tags there, it'll show that as well, and that allows me to send it to a speech doc. The last thing I need is the cite. I'm going to put the cite between the tag and the evidence. That's important because it's the way you read it in round. Tag, cite, evidence. Now, I use Site Creator, which is a free Chrome extension. You can download that by just opening up the Chrome Extension Store by Googling Chrome Extension Store. You then search their extensions for something called Site Creator. Now, this will do the site work for you. It will also rate itself. You have to double check how it does. Its ratings are pretty good, though. So this is a C rating. So it's saying, I feel pretty good about that. I'm going to copy it. And then again, I'm going to hit F2 to paste it without the formatting. If I hit Control V, it's going to look ugly like that. F2 is a nice little shortcut that fixes it. Now, Diane Archer, 224, 2020, 22 studies agree Medicare for all saves money. The Hill, that's complex and wordy, okay? I'm looking at the article here. I'm seeing that Diane Archer is a senior advisor at Social Security Works. That's a credential that's not in there, so I'm going to add it. The Hill is pretty well known and pretty reputable. It's a good research site. It covers news that is relevant to Capitol Hill or Congress. Since most people know what the Hill is, and I don't think Diane Archer being a senior advisor at Social Security Works adds any additional credibility to this article, I'm just going to go with the Hill on February 24th, 2020. Notice I'm going to write out February instead of 2. In a debate round, you want to do as little thinking as possible because of the time restraints and the challenges of everything being thrown at you. So if you can turn some parts of you off, you want to do that. I don't want to mentally have to calculate, is July month 6 or July month 7 in the moment. I would rather just read June or July, or in this case, February. To distinguish the difference here, I'm going to hit F8 or this button that says Cite. Now it looks different. At this point in time, I have a really good looking card. I have a hat that M4A equals money savings. I have a tag, 22 studies agree, M4A leads to significant cost savings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's about as long as a tag as you want. I then have a site, The Hill, on February 24th, 2020. Note this web page. That is a web page, not a site. It's a website page. You can't quote something based upon the website page. That's like using the book page to quote a book, okay? You have that in there so you can find this article if it's challenged. I then have highlighted the parts that I've read. If you do this in verbatim, it becomes very easy and very nice to add things in and to do things the easy way. That will become important when you have really large files. So here, for instance, is a policy debate.
It's not a fair fight. Drug company bullies inflate prices.
Here you have a policy debate file here about abolish ICE, which you can see is quite large, and you need to be able to go through things very, very quickly for debate. Hope that helps. Don't be afraid to ask questions.